Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm going to show you the process of building this Zimmerman's high tunnel. So this is a 34-foot wide high tunnel by 65 feet long. We have 6-foot sidewalls and 5-foot arch spacing. Also, this high tunnel has the W truss, 5 rows of purlins, and metal hip and baseboards. We also have a double layer roof with the inflation fan and 24-inch intake and exhaust fans that run off a thermostat to keep the high tunnel cool. On the far side, I have a wooden end wall with 2 4x8 swinging doors. And up on this end, we have a polycarbonate end wall with the metal framing and 2 4x8 sliding doors that meet in the middle. So previously I made some videos constructing a more basic high tunnel kit from Zimmerman's. There's lots of useful information in those too, but this series is covering more of the options that Zimmerman's offer. So let's get started building. So now we're going to take a look at end wall building. And on this high tunnel, I'm going to demonstrate building both metal end walls and wood end walls. So we're going to start with this end wall. This will be the metal framed end wall that's going to be finished with the 8mm polycarbonate sheets. This end wall will have a 8x8 foot sliding door, which consists of 2 4x8 foot sliding doors that meet in the middle. And I'm installing a 24-inch shutter fan in the peak of both end walls. Also on this end wall, I'm adding a smaller entry door off to the side. So you're going to want to lay out your end wall pretty carefully so that you don't run short on materials as you're building. Also, if you're adding extra side doors or multiple vents, you may need to order more materials to cover those options. So first, we're going to find and mark the center of our high tunnel. And then we're going to start with the door header and build our way out to the sides. So on the 8-foot sliding doors, the rough opening is going to be 3 inches less than 8 feet. So in this case, we're going to cut it off at 93 inches. So now we'll find the center of our door header and we'll line this up with the center of our high tunnel. And now we can go off of this to determine the placement of the uprights on our door edges. So this is a 32-inch end wall post. I have this one in already. So on the metal end walls with the sliding doors, I like to put this vertical piece over this post. Kind of like so. The sliding door is going to go past on the inside, and the polycarbonate and trim will be on the outside. So we'll be able to attach this from either side here, but we do want to leave this open for your door to get past. Normally, we would be attaching your baseboard with these posts on the inside and these clamps if you had swinging doors. But for sliding doors, I like to do it this way. So I'm just going to put this post down a little bit deeper. Now we're ready to slide the vertical on and mark where it needs to be cut. The baseboards or bottom beams and all the verticals and your door headers are going to be made with the larger size or the 2.5-inch square tubing and attached with the larger L brackets, which are 2.25 inch. And you can cut these off square or slanted with the arch, however you prefer. So we have our first vertical cut to size, and now we're going to attach it using Tek screws and an end wall bracket. We want to make sure these are nice and level or plumb for our door sides. So now if this is still level from side to side, we'll just check and make sure it's in line with the arch, and then we can tighten this up. Once the end wall is finished, we'll come along and put Tek screws in all of these brace bands. So now we can attach it to the post that it's over. In this scenario, it usually works best to pre-drill holes through the outside, and then the Tek screws will hold on the inside. Also, you want to kind of determine where your baseboard is going to go, and not put any Tek screws where you're going to put your L brackets. Also, this string is what's going to keep our wall in line, so we want to make sure that we're right next to it for your door sides and the baseboards. So usually I like to put 3 screws in here. I'll do 2 from this side and 1 from the other side. And now we can take a measurement for our baseboard here. So now my bottom beam or baseboard is cut to size, and I like to pre-assemble whatever I can at this point while it's easy to work on. So I put my L brackets on the ends. Also I measure out and put the bracket on for the next vertical or upright that's going in, and marked where the next ground post is going to be, which is just centered on this beam here. So if this is nice and level, we're ready to attach it. We want to make sure we don't dig it too far into the ground, or you're going to have trouble putting your trim and things around your polycarbonate later. So we want to keep it in line with the string nice. And we'll put some Tek screws in here. So long as it's nice and flush with the end, we can attach this side. And I like to kind of wrap these L brackets around a little bit. That way the screws go in better. And now we're ready for our second ground post on this side, which we're going to put right here, which is just centered from either side. Once again, I like to make a pilot hole. It just helps everything go in a little straighter. So these end wall posts go against the baseboard on the inside of the high tunnel. Now on these posts, I like to put them in upside down. That way we can drive them all the way in flush with the baseboard, and the clamps will still fit properly. And for this I have a larger cap. If you don't have this, you can just pound it in using the top, and if it mushrooms or crushes a little bit, leave it up just a little bit and cut it off there. And then we can attach it using the pipe straps. If you have enough materials left over, I put 2 on. Otherwise, if not, 1 is sufficient. And once again, we'll put a Tek screw through the pre-drilled hole to hold it in place. So now we're ready to install our next vertical piece. We'll start with temporarily hanging a bracket from one of these clamps up here. So we'll determine where this is going by measuring across from here the same distance as we have on the bottom, which is 6 feet. And then we can check our measurement this way. Once we have that attached, we can hook the bottom on. And we just use one of these large corner brackets for each of these connections. So now we'll go and tighten up the brace band up on top, and then we'll move on to the other side of the wall. Now we're ready to build the other side of the wall, and we'll start with this door post. So we'll use the header to determine where this is going to go. The string, once again, we want to keep this door post in line with that. And if it's tight, that's where this next post is going to go. And if you hit a rock like I did, you may have to dig that out and then set the post manually here. That works well too, as long as you get it packed in good. And we just want this post so that when we slide the next one on, so that it's right next to the string and tight up against the header. Now before I pound this post the rest of the way down, I usually like to grind the four corners where your door post is going to sit down on there. That makes it center itself and sit nice and tight. So now when you put your door post on, it'll center itself nice and tight on there. Now we can go ahead and tap this down a little bit further so that your door post sits all the way down to the ground. And then we can take a measurement for that. So we just want to make sure our door header still fits in here nice and tight. And then we'll go up and attach the top. So now we're just going to measure across up here and make sure that this width is the same as our door header on the bottom. And if so, we can attach this end wall bracket. Once again, we can attach this to the post underneath, and then we can measure and cut our next baseboard or bottom beam. Once again, I'll lay out this section of wall and pre-attach the larger corner brackets. Once we have this attached, we can put in our next ground post and the middle upright that goes on this section of wall. If you're using sliding doors, you want to make sure that this center post is far enough back so it doesn't interfere with the doors that slide on the inside. So if you have your door post nice and level, all we have to do to get these ones in the proper spots is to make sure the measurement is the same top and bottom, and these should be level too. I usually like to put the end wall bracket on the upper side of the arch. That gives you a little more height here to attach stuff. If you have it on this side, this pipe is going to have to be cut off lower. So now we're ready to install our door header. And what I like to do is first determine where you want the bottom of the doors so that they'll slide without any interference. So my header is leveled on the ground here, and I want my doors to come down to this point. So what I'm going to do is hook on here, and I'll measure up 8 feet. So the door header is going to go above 8 feet, and this is where your corner bracket will be. So I'm going to install these corner brackets, and I put these on the bottom side of the door header because on the top we are going to have this door track, and we don't want these L brackets here to interfere with the brackets on these. So in the peak of each arch on this high tunnel, I'm having a 24-inch shutter fan. And how those work, when you have two fans, one blows cool air in and the other continues the same direction, blowing the hot air out. So your cool air kind of moves through your high tunnel, cooling it off that way with the two fans. So if you have a east-west high tunnel like this one is, you would want the intake, or the fan that's blowing cool air in, on the west side and the one blowing out on the east side. If it was a north-south high tunnel, you would want the intake, or the fan blowing cool air in, would be on the south side, and the exhaust fan would be on the north side. That way your prevailing winds kind of help your fans cool through the summer. So this is the west wall that I'm working on. Therefore this is going to be the intake fan, or the fan that's on the outside blowing in. And this fan is going to have a hood over it to protect it from the weather. Again, I like to pre-assemble whatever I can while the header is down here on the ground. In this case, I'm placing the brackets for the uprights, which will be the rough opening for our shutter fan. So the rough opening measurement for the intake shutter fan is going to be 25 inches. And from outside to outside, we want it to be at least 30 inches to accommodate the protective hood. Also, when installing these brackets, we want to make sure that they don't interfere with your door track mounting brackets. In my case, going on the outsides of the uprights is the best option. So I took my measurement on this side. So I'm going with the marks on this side, then we'll just level across and put that side wherever it needs to be level. Now we're ready to build and install the frame for our fan and put in the horizontal pieces on this end wall. For the intake fan, we need to use the 2.5-inch square tubing so that it's wide enough to install the hood. The exhaust fan on the other end of the high tunnel only needs 1.5-inch square tubing. So you want to make sure that this opening for the fan is 25 by 25 inches. And now we're ready to put this piece up. So I like to center my fans or vents and keep them up as close as I can to the peak. But if you're running low on materials or something, you can run a single vertical here and box the fans or vents in using your door header. So now we'll go and fill in all the horizontal braces. And the lower ones will be made out of 1.5-inch square tubing using the smaller L brackets. And we usually put those about 4 feet up from the baseboard, or halfway in between the baseboard and the door header. We want to keep these flush with the outside of the high tunnel. We'll do likewise for these other ones. This outer brace will be installed in the same way. There is another option of attaching it to the sidewall post with a brace band and end wall bracket. But in the case of metal hip and baseboards, it's difficult to get this piece of square tubing to sit very well on that band. So in that situation, I use the L brackets. And once again, we want to keep everything nice and straight across here as we put this together. So for this upper horizontal beam, we're going to use the 2.5-inch square tubing, and we want to install this straight across from your door header, and that will allow your door track to install properly. Once we have these pieces in, this half of the wall is finished, and I'm going to do likewise on the other side with the exception of a small entry door that I'm putting in. So once you have everything finalized on your end wall, you want to go up and inspect that everything is nice and tight, and drive a tack screw through each of the brace bands up here, including the ones holding the purlins. So now I have this section of the wall completed. Here's the smaller door that I roughed in here, and once again you want to make sure you use the larger 2.5-inch tubing for any door openings. So normally this lower run of horizontals would be the smaller size, or 1.5 inch square tubing, but I went with the larger size here because I'm going to be mounting my curtain winch on this piece. Normally you would mount your winch on this vertical, but because I'm having a doorway, I don't want the winch to get in the way of the door. So this wall is complete, and if you were going to cover it with the 6mm plastic film, we would be ready to attach the C-channel or wire lock base. So you'd go over the top of the arch once again, and then all of the verticals are going to get the C-channel and around every opening. And one note is, in most cases it goes up the center of the vertical, except for around your doors. If you have swinging doors or anything that has hinges or mounting hardware, you want to offset it so that you have enough room to attach your hinges and things. Or you attach your doors first and put this over the top of the hinges. But this end wall is getting polycarbonate, and we'll be covering that next in part 4 of this series.